You've talked about your sales growth forecasts based around what biosimilars are doing and also the level of cancer treatment versus normal times. On the latter of those, where are we versus what is normal, the amount of treatment that is happening for things other than COVID-19 at this point?
We've seen a major impact actually in the second quarter last year during the lockdown, where people didn't take their medical appointments, and as a result of that also didn't get their prescription for medicines. Since then, the situation has recovered. We see a certain normalization. But if we look into 2021, actually, the main driver of our growth will be the newly launched medicines. And that's why we actually expect to accelerate our growth for the current year in the low to mid-single digits.
Yes, and so let me ask you a bit about that. The impact of cheaper biosimilar copies of your older drugs. It seems to be greater than perhaps you previously anticipated. What has changed there? Are you expecting meaningful loss of sales of biosimilars in the US this year? Two biosimilars, sorry.
Right. In fact, last year we expected a significant impact. It was somewhat higher, and we expect that this impact will continue in 2021, and it will remain significant. But the good news is the growth of the newly launched medicines, which now account for over 40% of our pharma sales, and also the good momentum we have on the diagnostic side due to the continued demand for COVID-19 testing. And that's the reason why we expect an acceleration of growth.
What about your expectations for approval of your COVID-19 antibody treatment, Regeneron? When do you expect that approval? What's your expectation on timing, and how many people in Europe could realistically be treated then with the medicine, say, by the end of the year, this year?
We have already received emergency authorization in the United States, so the medicine is already available in the United States, and we have filed for the antibody cocktail outside of the United States, including the European Union. Now it's up to the authorities to make a decision when the medicine will be available to patients. We are doing everything, and we are closely working with the authorities to make it available as soon as possible. Now, the big limitation here is worldwide production capacities for biologics. And we are working really day and night over the weekends to ramp up production as much as we can, but still capacities will be limited to above 2 million doses for 2021. So, that will certainly be less than the demand. So it will be very important to prioritize those antibody cocktails to those patients who are in most need.
Severin, can you partner up with people to boost that production?
We are doing everything. We are working together with other companies. We are ramping up our own production. But unlike in small molecules or even vaccines for biologics, it just takes time. Again, capacities will be limited, but still, even if it's only a few million doses we can provide, that can make a huge difference for the high-risk patients. So it's not a weapon which will allow us to overcome the pandemic, but it is a possibility to reduce mortality and a severe course of the disease for those patients.
Of course, there's a big focus on production of the vaccine at the moment as well, Severin. We've heard from a number of players who've decided to get involved with trying to increase production. There's a lot of cooperation, we know, in the sector to try and boost production everywhere to get the level of production up. Are you in the business? Are you able to boost that production effort? Are you in talks with anyone to try and do that at this point?
Our focus has really been on the biologics. That's an area of strength at Roche. That's an area where we can make a big difference. Our production capacities are now running at 100%. But having said that, of course, we keep analyzing the situation. And whenever there is a possibility in whatever area, be it testing, medicines, vaccines, we will look at that and also make our capacities available for the industry.
Severin, you have a unique position as someone who can help us figure out why the EU was so much slower than the UK and the US at getting these vaccines in quantities. Why do you think the Commission dragged its feet? Why do you think the Commission seemingly sort of failed its people?
Yeah, Europe is a rather complicated setup where a lot of interests need to be aligned across the member states. And unfortunately, that led to a situation where Europe was late compared to other countries. Now, okay, it is what it is. Now, I think we have to look forward. We have to look at what we can learn from those experiences, and most importantly, from an industry point of view, we will continue to focus on ramping up production capacities. That is the bottleneck we have to focus on for the time being.